All right, Terry, are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's kick this off. Terry, read us in, please.
Okay. This meeting is being conducted virtually, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Mr. Knox, Mr. Santos, and Mr. Harris will not be joining us today. Ms. Ginsburg,
Here.
Ms. Gray, Mr. Sanchez,
Present. Thank you.
Mr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Kehoe, Mr. Robbins,
I'm here.
Ms. Zapanta, Mr. Pryor,
Here.
and Chair Bernstein.
I'm here.
Staff participating in the meeting includes CEO Santos Kryman, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Division Managers Alan Cochran and Carlos Barrios. Trustees, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you're ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda.
Thank you, Terry. I want to confirm we do not have a quorum assembled.
That is correct.
Then I'm going to move the approval of the minutes item 1 to our next regularly scheduled OOC meeting.
Right.
Okay. We're on to item 2, public comment. I'm not aware of any slips from the public. Have
I
you
don't
received
have
any?
anything.
Thank you. We are on to reports. We'll start off with report 3A, our LACERA operations briefing.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bernstein. Good morning, committee members. Just a brief highlight on some of the contents within the report. As mentioned earlier in the BOR meeting, we concluded our busiest period at LACERA, which normally we categorize as March Madness, but it's really November through March. And we had about a 12% increase in retirements over that period from last year to this year. And also, obviously, March still continues to be our highest month in terms of retirement elections. That represents over 50% of those retirement elections over that 5-month span. We're on schedule to present the new online disability application. There's a brief summary within the OOC report. Hopefully, we look to present that, a preview of that to the during the June OOC committee meeting. So we hope to present that to the respective committee members in June. We are also looking and exploring we're looking at new ways of how we highlight and report some of our information. I know we tend to be a little bit long in terms of our narrative, and we're looking at more of a report style format. So look for that in the coming months in terms of reformatting some of our information and to include a more succinct report style. And lastly, as outlined within the report and previously mentioned earlier, we continue to make progress on several projects. We talked about case management. We talked about strategic planning. We're also looking at an enterprise contract life cycle management system, as well as a budget system. And I do want to highlight, as we look at these projects and we're looking at improving some of our processes, some of these solutions are software as a service. So oftentimes when you hear us talk about consultants or solutions, some of these services that we're bringing on board is really.
Are you haunted by your cable service? Have you noticed strange?
Are really applications used to better improve our service delivery. So as we work through case management, the budget system, some of the other initiatives, we'll highlight those within this committee meeting, as well as the BOR. With that, if there's any questions with respect to the report, the team and I are certainly available to answer those.
Thank you, Louis. Are there any questions?
I have one. Can you hear me?
Trustee Moore and then Trustee Sanchez after him.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to know on the case management.
Trustee Moore, it's hard to hear you. Can you possibly speak up a little bit?
Oh man, I think I'm having trouble with my microphone.
And we will listen more carefully.
Let's see. I'm gonna turn it up as high as I can get it.
Yeah, we can hear you if you.
You got louder when you got closer. I assume.
Okay. So I just wanted to know the case management project. That's gonna be there'll be some basic software, but they'll be designing it. It's not an off-the-shelf product, right? They're going to be designing to meet our needs. So I wanted to know, do we have any staff that has done that kind of a project before?
So Trustee Moore, I'll have Kathy Delano answer that question in terms of our implementation and. Yep.
Sure, I'm happy to. Good afternoon. So we do have staff in systems that has extensive experience on workflow projects, interface design, data design, and document management. And so all of those components will be utilized during this new project. We will be leaning heavily on a syntax for their expertise in their product. And they will be, they will be doing the customization based on our requests from our subject matter experts. So
Okay.
at LACERA, the three processes that we've determined will be part of phase one, we've documented the current workflow of those processes. And the subject matter experts that actually do that work now are part of the team. So they'll be working with systems and also with a syntax to develop what the new process will look like.
Okay, that's good to know. I was really wondering, had Mr. Lugo or anyone else managed a project like that already?
So Trustee Moore, for myself, we did, and in my previous experience at Minnesota Para, we had case management built into our pension administration system. So it was part of kind of the legacy system we had in place. So in terms of adding an additional case management overlay, I don't want to speak. I don't think it's an overly complicated process. It's not like building a new pension administration system, which is a completely, kind of a 3 to 5 year project. I think this is going to more help with our workflows, which I do have experience, and we do have experience, across the organization in terms of implementing or using case management as part of kind of the day-to-day services.
Okay.
Trustee Moore, I think it's important to point out what we're doing is leveraging the talents and the products that have already been developed in-house. And what we don't have is experience with the Eccentrics product. And it just made sense for us to bring somebody on board to assist us with fine tuning it and with customizing it to meet our specific needs. So, and we identified the 3 different work processes that we thought would assist us. But ultimately, the goal is always to be self-contained, be able to provide the support on those new systems internally. So there will be a handoff at some point in time, but Eccentric will more than likely, well, we're hopeful that they will disappear eventually, and that we'll take care of everything internally. And that will require us to train our staff. There are a number of projects that are going on at this particular point in time. Training for our IT staff is definitely one of the areas of focus that we're going to be striving to implement, so that we raise the level of our knowledge base in our IT section, so that we can provide the support that the services need. So,
okay.
Okay.
I didn't have any issue with bringing in the consultants and the team to do it. I just wanted to know what kind of internal capacity we had who'd already implemented a project like that in their previous life that gives you a higher level of confidence that you can recognize all of the problems that you don't see now that are going to come up and be ready for them. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They've done a good job of documenting the workflows. Kathy and her team have done a really good job of doing that. So
Oh yeah.
we're
I'm very
expecting
confident. I'm very confident Kathy's going to be in control of everything.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Trustee Sanchez.
Thank you. First, I just wanted to mention that it is exciting, as that may sound to be excited about a software update. It is exciting to see this software one be approved and then created and implemented by the staff. So that's happy to see it approved today. What I want to ask is to see if you can briefly, if there is any context to this increase in March Madness. Is there something, is something going on within the county or just in general, or that can explain the increase?
Trustee Sanchez, I'll have JJ take.
Sure.
So, and this is just anecdotal, right? Based on, comments that our member services staff heard while counseling members. And also a little bit of data driven expectations, because we are still, believe it or not, seeing that baby boom crest. And so you still have a group of folks that are hitting retirement, that have hit retirement age and are deciding, this is the time to go. And then on top of that, COVID was a factor this year. During the run up to the March Madness season, which I am generally defining as November through March, a lot of the calls we were getting we heard people making comments, I'm just done. I'm tired of what's going on with COVID, and I'm exhausted, and I'm eligible to retire, and it's time. So it'll be interesting. We have seen a general increase in retirements year over year for the last several years. So that's that age crest, and then I think the COVID was the issue this year.
And if I can further expand on that, Trustee Sanchez, we also looking at projections. This is something that, as part of our evolution share with some of our data trends. But when we look at the average age of retirement, as well as the average service, that's going to continue to increase over the foreseeable years. When you look at our current active population and the demographics and the age in which they tend to retire, as well as the amount of service that they tend to have. And I think we still see that pendulum swinging up over the next few years.
I think in discussions that I've had with some of our members, a lot of them stayed on because they wanted to get the county, quite frankly, through the emergency. And they felt an obligation, quite frankly, as public servants to stay on to try to assist with the transition. And now that things are becoming, kind of a new normal, they're looking to now move on and let someone else take over the full transition into a post-pandemic world. So, and those have been anecdotal, but I have had several conversations with probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 individuals that retired that I knew that reached out to me. So.
Thank you. That's helpful. It's what we've been hearing, right? But that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, comment. Mr. Pryor?
There is one kind of interesting phenomenon too, where, and you'll see this in different county departments, and we're really, really bad at this, in that if you continue to hire a whole bunch of people at the same time a whole bunch of people retire, that accumulates over decades and even a generational thing, where you're hiring a whole lot of people at once, and then you have this lull where nobody retires, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're actually trying to figure out a way to kind of smooth that out, where we can sort of make our hiring an even process throughout the year. Because what we found is the last 2 and 3 years, we've had this massive exodus of employees and this massive hiring of new employees. And the only reason is just because that's the way we've done it over the last 75 years, is a bunch of people would leave and we'd have to hire a bunch of people. And that tends to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate to where we've really gotten in trouble. And that we have such a low experience ratio within our staff that it's definitely affected our operations in having such a young staff and sort of a brain drain across the department. And I'm sure other departments will experience the same in the future. But thank you.
Do you find that it's happening more in a specific department, or is this just a general challenge throughout the county?
The departments that are associated with safety, we saw such a huge hiring post-Vietnam that we really kind of drew a lot of that back to that hiring, when we really took a lot and sort of overhired with veterans. And then when they retired over the last 4 or 5 years, even more than that, 7 or 8 years, is really when it kind of hit us.
Yeah, I think as a general, just a general conversation, anecdotal, I think that the hiring for the county, for example, after Prop 13 passed in the late 70s, the hiring really dropped off in the 80s, 80, 85. And then the county, of course, went through their financial crisis right around the 1992. There was a hiring freeze for about 3 or 4 years that really slowed the pace. And so if you look at those two factors and the hiring, and then there's been several hiring freezes along the way as well that were not just 1 year, 2 year, they were between 4 to 5 years. And so I think what you're seeing now is that exactly that bubble that Trustee Pryor is talking about, where we hired everybody in concentrations, and then people are now starting they're getting ready to retire, that they're at that retirement age at this point in time.
Yeah, and if I could add, City of LA had experienced the same thing. And it's same kind of situation, post-Vietnam, hiring 25 years later, 30 years later, sworn officers, had a huge decrease. The feast and famine of hiring freezes and then hiring, and that really creates a huge problem for all of the organizations managing staff through that time, and then again in retirement. But I think the county isn't really different than the City of LA in that environment either. So I don't think there's anything that I think that explains it.
Thank you, Louis, Laura. Thank you, team. I think that's everything. So final word, sir?
Nope, no, that's everything. Thank you.
Oh, your green border lit up.
Oh.
We are now on to 3B, the semi-annual member services update from Alan Cochran. Mr. Cochran, take it away.
Yes. Good morning, trustees. And my memo was meant to be for information only, so I am very happy to to answer any questions you may have. The overview of the last 6 months, as pointed out in my memo, is it's been a challenging period of time, extremely challenging for a number of reasons. With the spike of COVID during December, January, February, and our need to temporarily shut down the member service center, as well as our staff, our member services staff getting ill themselves. It put a great demand on our staff to provide services, but we were able to step up and we innovated ways in which we could offer continuing services to our members. Many of our staff volunteered to work on overtime projects in order to accomplish our mission by providing virtual counseling services on Saturdays, additional virtual counseling in the late afternoons. And then additionally, we've had member services staff essentially work together with benefits beginning in early November in order to work on Saturdays to assist benefits in processing these many retirement applications in what we call the board letter project. So I just want to really have this more as an update on the challenges that we've faced, and give a real shout out to member services staff. They have been heroic, as well as all of the LACERA staff who've been supporting us in our mission. We're looking forward to the months ahead. We've reopened the member service center on Monday. This is going well, and we're going to work very hard to try to increase our appointments throughout the summer, of course, with the presumption that the COVID environment will remain on a more modest level. So I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone would have about member services.
Thank you very much for that overview. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And Carlos, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm also told that your report was set up to be FYI.
Yes, it was.
So I will throw that to the trustees. Are there any questions or comments on 3C, the status of reducing the death claims backlog? Well, thank you both for being here with us today to be available. Appreciate it and appreciate the reports. We will turn out items for staff review. Terry?
I have nothing.
I will open the floor for good of the order. If anyone has any final words before we go off to lunch and enjoying our days. Staff, as always, thank you for all the work you put into pulling this together. And hearing no good of the order, I'd be happy to entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Without objection, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.
Have a good week. Thank you.